Alright guys, here we are. I just made it back to the shop about 11 o'clock in the morning. Went out and put that miserable seat back in that hack. Put the seat all back together on the tailgate of my service truck, and then put it all back together. Got the hose fixed that popped out of its fitting, and you know, I tried to wrestle that thing up in there, climbing up the steps. I just couldn't do it. So I craned it in there. I just telescoped it in there, and I got enough sag in my strap where I just kind of slung it in the door, and then popped the strap off the hook on my crane. That's the only way I can figure out how to get it in there without killing myself. But just wanted to show you guys something. I had a couple questions and Ryan was wondering how this thing ran, how you operated this thing. He was under the impression that it just had one steering wheel and you had to drive it backwards all the time. No, these are the cat's ass if you want to actually load some hay and you want to get it done quick. Here's the steering wheel for the driving side when you're going forward and you're not loading, when you're roading it. And there's your Allison controls there, and there should be a switch on here. Yeah, it's mode. You can't see it because they've worn the button out, but there's a mode switch right here. It says pump. That'll actually turn your hydraulics on. So if you push that mode button to turn the hydraulics off once you're not loading, and you just drive down the road, and they'll do about 70 miles an hour going down the highway. And then when you want to get over here and load, put it in neutral, set your brake, get over here, push mode, release your brake, and then now you're back in on the work side when your hydraulics are on. Then you're ready to load hay. Yeah, I've been down to that part of the country in Texas and things like that, and I didn't see anything like this down there either. And I don't think they realize how easy that would make their life if they had something like that. I guess a lot of guys use big bells. They just use forks, on a tractor or something. But if you're using 3-twine or even 2-wire bells, 2-twine, there ain't such thing as a wire bell anymore. But there's still a lot of feed stores and stuff around here, and them feed stores all want 120-pound 3-twine bells. 100 to 120 pound 3-twine bells, and usually they'll when they're loading hay trucks, they'll usually load, I think, 7 or 8 highs on there, and it'll pick up the whole block of hay and set it on the hay truck. Well, and this is what they stack all the barns with too. It's quite a machine. And these machines, I can tell you right now for a fact, I had my uncle, he bought an old 84 years ago, and when he wanted to get rid of it, he sold it for what he paid for it. And he'd had it for about probably 15 years, and he sold it for what he paid for it. They hold their value. So, alright, well, back to the old 8.1. I am going to check my in play on my crankshaft, make sure my thrust is okay. And let me go get my dial indicator and get the service manual fired up so I know what my spec is. And then I'll got my dial indicator set up here on my crankshaft. Got it zeroed. Let's see what we've got here. I need to go the other way. Alright, what do we got? Try to get out of the damn light. What is that? 5, 6, 7 thousandths. Back the other way. Well, she's not quite zeroed now. Let's zero it again. Damn it. Seven thousandths. And the spec is basically, it looks like to me, It's like a 1.5 thousandths to 15 thousandths, which is perfect. We're at 7. We're in the middle. Okay. So, a little story here. Here goes me with another story. A little story about a 9430T one time. I worked for the strawberry nursery, and we had bought 2 of those. Well, I didn't buy shit. I just worked on it. They had bought 2 of them, and this thing had it was scheduled for service, and I was waiting for the operator to bring it to the shop. And he was roading it up the hill, and there's about a 1/4 mile stretch from the highway up to the shop where that shop was that I worked at. Well, I could hear him when he turned off the paved road up to the dirt road to come up to the shop, and I could hear something, metal on metal, something was noisy. I ran down the road halfway and stopped him because I was like, man, something's gonna happen before it even gets here. I stopped him right where he was at. And he was sitting there idling, and I got to trying to chase the noise down. Well, the crank dampener, this 9430T, mind you, only had about 1,200 hours on it, but it was over its 2-year time span or whatever it was for the warranty. It was out of warranty. Anyway, crank dampener had rubbed, there was oil all over the front cover, and the front crank dampener had rubbed a hole through the front timing cover, and that had the 13.1 liter PowerTech in it. I thought, you gotta be shitting me. 1,200 hours. So I said, well, just wheel it all into the shop. Take it on in there. Well, pull the pan off. And when I pulled the pan off, thrust bearings, it had that style of thrust bearings. But on that engine, on that 13.1 liter, it just had thrust bearings, if I remember right, on the top cap. There was none on the bottom cap. I looked in the book. All they had was thrust bearings on the top cap. Well, when they assembled that engine at the factory, they didn't put those in there right, because there's no way those should have rolled out of there. No way in hell. So they didn't put it together right at the factory, and it finally rolled out of there. And I ordered a set of new thrust bearings. It didn't chew them up. They didn't look bad, but I thought, well, let's just get a new set of thrust bearings. And I rolled new thrust bearings in it, and I had to take I ain't gonna lie to you, you know what I did? I took an aluminum TIG welder, and I welded the front cover up where it rubbed a hole in it, and I painted it green. I stuck it back on there, and that tractor, it's still running over there. That was about 6 years ago. 6 years ago. 6 years ago, because I quit 5 years ago. That was the last year I worked for them, so it would have been about 6 years ago. And it's still running over there. So, yeah, little story about a thrust bearing. Kind of neat, huh? Alright guys, we're ready to flip her over back on her feet. Oh, another little story for you about this morning, about my dog, Duke. Duke's at home now, well, Daisy is too. He jumped in the cab of that tractor while I was out working on the seat. Well, I was busy working on the seat, and then all of a sudden, I remembered they had decon in the cab. And I said, oh shit. And I grabbed him and drug him out of there, and I called my wife. I said, come get this dog right now. I said, I said, I don't know if he ate decon, but I ain't losing another dog with, due to poisoning. So she come and got him, and she brought a bottle of peroxide with him, and right there in the field, I held him, and she dumped peroxide down his throat there, and we waited for him and waited for him and waited for him to puke, because she's just gonna let him puke a few times and then throw him in the pickup and haul him to town to the vet. Well, he wouldn't puke. But you know when he puked? When he got about a 1/4 mile down the road in the pickup and puked all inside the cab of the pickup. Isn't that about right? Anyway, so which is fine. I'll clean it up. I love my dog. I don't want him to die on me, and I don't want him to suffer. So, and she called me and said that puke had a little blue tint in it, and I said, well, that's the color that decon was. I bet he ate some of it. Get him into the vet and get him took care of. I don't want a sick dog. So she hauled him in there, and they're gonna, I don't know, the vet's already looked at him and said that he'll be fine, but the decon's not near as bad as that strychnine like Joe got into. But they said that the vet called me and said that she was really glad that I caught it quick and got the peroxide down him and got him to puke. So alrighty, well, I'm gonna flip her over and we'll get putting this thing together. Long and Dance is a 6170R. And this one here, the black Viton O-ring goes in the lower groove. The silicone orange O-ring goes in the upper groove. You can use liquid hand soap or Vaseline or petroleum jelly, something like that to leave your O-rings up real good. And you got your square packing that goes up against here. Make sure it's not twisted. And then I take that and coat my whole part where the O-rings slide over here. I'll coat that whole thing with petroleum jelly and get her nice and slick. Alright, so finish her off with the block. Better make sure that's not twisted. Forgetting to look to see if those are twisted. Doesn't hurt to check them twice. I don't like that one. It's not going down as far as that other one did. It doesn't seem right there at all. Good. That number 3 just didn't, I don't like it. I think I might lube that up some more or something. I don't like the way that one feels. Go ahead and knock these other ones in real quick. Pull the motor rings back out for number 3. I don't like the way that feels. It just has a different feel than all the rest of them do. Damn dowel. Hit the dowel. Let's see. Let's pull the motor rings back out of there. Lube them up a little more. Give her another whirl. Yeah, it just had a different feel than all the other ones did. Alright, let's try this one again. See that one? That went like all the other ones did. Alright, well, the liner's in there. Now it's rod and piston time. Pistons in. Check the ring gaps here. Let's put this one here like that. There's the front hat. Do it the same way we did the 6170. Take the second one to 120 degrees. Take the third one, put it right there. Take this a little bit of clean engine oil, pour on the piston. Front and front. So the rod says front and the piston says front, and there's an arrow also that points towards the front. I need to get that thing rotated around to the bottom dead center though. I forgot about that. Set that right there for now. Yeah, I need the next size up. Big. No, that'll work, I think. What's the safer size on it? Where's the size stamped at? 4.5 to 4.75. Not sure what size the bore is. That's saying. Let's just see if this is somewhat. Right there. That'll do her. Make sure that's pointing towards bottom. Figure out what I was hitting there. All right. quite just exactly right. Alright, let's put number 6 in, because 6 is the companion cylinder, just at bottom dead center. Check the ring gaps. I'm doing the same thing as the 60-68 motor. I'm just going to put one, you know, I got to look at my camera view to see where, make sure you guys are being able to see this. I'm not quite sure where it's pointing. Right in there, okay. I actually like to use a lot of that assembly lube stuff on there, I know that. Front and front. Okay, that's what we want there. Okay, the rings are gapped. You know what I did, guys? I screwed up. I was thinking I was on the front of the motor this way. I cut them backwards. I gotta take that one back out. See? Head up your butt. God, you ding dong. I gotta pop that one back out. I thought the front of the motor was on this end. I looked over here and I seen that. Well, easily fixable. I'm batting 1,000. Ain't nothing like screwing up in public, you know, well, on a video. Well, I won't edit that out. You'll see that I screwed the pooch on that and put the damn thing in backwards. Arrow points that way towards the front of the motor. Now I gotta be careful and not break a ring when it pops out. Dumbass. Oh, and I checked my liner protrusion, same way we did on the 60-68 motor. There, it's in the right damn direction now. Flipping the motor around and turning it upside down and forget where in the hell the front was on it. Alright, down. Now we're doing one and 2 and 5. Okay, so when you torque these rod bolts down, these are torpedo bolts too. There was an early cap design on early engines, early serial numbers. that use tongue and groove caps, and the newer style had a machine, what they call a precision joint, and they have two different torque methods. The tongue and groove ones take the bolt closest to the piston, because your rod, the way your rod faces like this at an angle, the rod cap. So take that one, torque it to 20 foot-pounds, torque the next one to 20 foot-pounds, and then 90 to 100 degrees. And then same thing on the machine groove one. If you've got that one, it's 72 foot-pounds, I believe. Yeah, it's 72 foot-pounds plus 90 or 100 degrees on the machine groove ones. And on those machine groove ones, they're kind of like Cummins, the newer Cummins pistons with alpha numbers. You have to make sure your alpha numbers between your rod cap and your rod match. Okay. These bastards are going right in. Just like they ought to. Rod bolts. Okay, they climb under here and pull them down on the rod girdles. Torque these and put the other two cylinders in, and we're going to be getting pretty close to putting the cylinder head on. Alright, we're going to put the old cylinder head on there. This is a brand new head, but it's still good to check it. I went ahead and laid a flat edge across it, cleaned it up on the bottom, and then head gasket. Head gasket is directional, so it means it'll only go under one way. You can't stick her on that away. It's got to go on that away. I got my engine set at top dead center compression number 1. Let's get it on there. A little bit of a tilt here, but that ain't too bad. Make sure it's done where I'm supposed to be here. good. Got a big enough chain, don't I? I found my little bitty chain and I lifted it off with. I don't know what the hell I did with it. I got all new head bolts, so I gotta round all them up, get them lubed up. Start torquing the head down, and we'll run the overhead. And I'm gonna be held up. I'm probably gonna go ahead and put the engine in, put the injectors in with the engine in it. So I'm waiting on injectors. Alright, let me get my head bolts all rounded up. Okay, so start out, these get torqued at 60 foot-pounds on initial torque, then another 270, 3 steps at 90, so 270 degrees, so quite a process. Start out torque number 17, which would be this one, 60 foot-pounds. And then it's kind of a weird torque sequence on these. The same torque sequence they use on all this old style cylinder head. You're gonna go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. And then you already did 17, so then you go to 18. 18, and you go, I'm trying to remember, 19, 20, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25. Yeah, should be 26 head bolts here. I'm trying to think here. Yeah, miscounted somewhere there, but we'll go through it here. So that would have been 1, 2, 3. We already did 17. Okay, here's 18. Then we'll go 19, 20. Back over here to 3, 4, 5, 26. Now, I got to get a pin and make some lines, and this is a long process here. What you want to do on these, this is per the John Deere service manual. Okay, so in the John Deere service manual, it tells you to draw a take an oil-proof pen or a paint marker and draw a line parallel on the head of the bolt. Draw a line parallel to the crankshaft. Start out in sequence, and then turn that till that is 90 degrees perpendicular to the crankshaft. And after you get done in sequence with that sequence, then you go in sequence again till that line is perpendicular to the crankshaft. Then after you get done with that sequence, then you're going to be back in parallel with the crankshaft again. So it's a long process. I might have to chain this engine down. You gotta love this torque turn stuff. Everything for the last, I don't know, I've been doing it for a long time. A little more. Yep, torquing these are fun. I'll probably be getting a 3/4 torque wrench and chaining this thing down here in a little bit. Makes you wonder if they're having trouble with head gaskets, you know, when they're stretching them bolts that much. Man, that's a lot of stretch on a bolt 270 degrees. Perfect. If you want to stay in shape, you don't need a treadmill. I'll do this shit for a living. You'll be just fine. Well, when I was in high school, we hauled hay, so we were in pretty good damn shape. brake sockets. 18, 19. Four more here on this sequence. Then we gotta do it 2 more times. You can almost feel them when they start getting to where they're that stretch point, and you kind of know where you're getting close. Last one. Alright guys, I'm going to let these stretch a little bit, and we'll go for round number 2. Alright guys, we're on the 3rd step. I went ahead and did the 2nd one. I did number 1 on this one just to see. I think I can get them all with this 1/2 inch breaker bar. You don't have to get this last one in one turn. Just try to get it as close as you can get it to your line being perpendicular is what I do. I had a question for you guys. Those of you guys who comment quite a bit. Do you guys think my videos are too long, or do I need to make them shorter? My problem with making them shorter is I do so much work that, man, I'd have to have like, I don't know, 30, 64, what do they call them, 64 gigabyte SD cards to, to hold all the information, and then, I don't know, it just seems like to me, I don't know, I just can't seem like I can cover material the way I want to in a 15-minute video, It just seems like if I go home and I do a 15-minute video, it doesn't seem like I did anything. I don't know. So, any comment on that, it would be greatly appreciated. Alright. Had a guy ask me, like, boosted? This is the guy's name on there. Wanted to know what the step in the block was. I think he's talking about the steps in the block back there when I had it upside down yesterday. That was where your main bearing caps recess in there and bolt down. I think that's what he's talking about. That's all I can really figure out there. Another guy, Jim Ball, asked me where I got my, if I got mechanical training in the Navy, yes. Especially, I don't know about the surface fleet too much, but on submarine training, yes. There was extensive training, extensive mechanical schools. I went through a ton of classes. When I got out, well, one of the things that I got certified on when I was in the Navy, they certified me universal refrigeration certified, which means if you don't know that you can work on anything, any system. We had what they call the R12 plant. I'm trying to remember, it's been years ago. That was 99. Shit, that's been, golly, time goes by. Yeah, 20 years ago. That was in 4-compartment lower level. Is where that was at. Tell you a really interesting story. I was on a ballistic missile submarine called the USS Alabama, and trust me, the movie Crimson Tide, it's not like that. But something's kind of, we had a radioman when I was in there. We were on patrol. Adjust this camera. A little more here. Look at this. We had a radioman pass away while we were out to sea. And you know what they did with that feller? He had a heart attack, 26 years old. Had a heart attack. Threw him in the freezer until I think we pulled in a month and a half later. Threw him in the freezer. Which, I mean, he's dead. I mean, what else are you going to do? But it was just kind of weird. We were out to sea, and you'd send one on a submarine when you haven't earned your fish yet. You're called what they call a nub. A non-useful body until you earn your fish, till you get your quals done. You have to go around to every compartment. That's the thing on a submarine. You know, if you're on a ballistic missile boat, there's like, I'm trying to remember, I think it was a 160-man crew. I mean, you need to know a little bit about everything. So if shit starts hitting the fan and you're taking on water, or you're out, you know, battle stations, missile, whatever, you need to know what to do in each compartment. You know, and have a clue. What was I going to say? Anyway, but we'd send the nubs in there to get the food out of the cold store room to take to the MSs, to the cooks, because they were cranking. When you first get on a submarine, you spend 90 days cranking, washing dishes. That's all you do. And so, when this happened, I was in E5. Speaking of E5, I made E5 2 times. Got in a little trouble when I was in the Navy. Had a guy there. We were in, we were in Pearl Harbor. Not in Pearl Harbor, but we were at Fort Island. They won't let the missile boats pull into to Pearl Harbor. They park them out at Fort Island. Back when I was there was no bridge between Fort Island and Oahu. Now there's a bridge there. You had to catch a ferry every time you went over. But anyway, I was off duty. I had been out in town partying or something, you know, doing what sailors do, drinking and partying, chasing women. And I'd come back to the boat because I had watch the next morning. I had duty the whole day. And there was this kid there Me and him really never got along very good. He he was on below decks watch. He was on duty, and he came by and he did it 2 times on his rounds. I was in machinery too, bullshitting with all the guys, you know, and he came by and did that, you know, and hit me in the balls with the back of his hand. He did it 2 times, and I says, "Do it one more time, I'm gonna break your nose." And he did, and I broke his nose. And it snapped the bone up here. You know, I don't know if you can see it. It snapped the bone clear up here, and it was sticking out. And I don't know, I grew up, I don't know, around here, when you pop a feller in the nose, usually they come back swinging. He just took off running with his hands over his face. "You broke my nose!" Oh, I'll never forget that. So, I immediately went to captain's mast for that, and I lost a half month's pay for 2 months. And then when I got back to the port, I got restricted. We were going into dry dock, and I got restricted to the boat for 60 days while we were in dry dock. It was kind of funny. The captain says, "Would you, if you had this to do all over again, what would you do?" I told him, I says, "Same thing, that was a perfect hit." He didn't like that very much. And I told him, I says, "I don't know. I know it's against military code doing what I did, but I says, where I come from, people don't hit people in the balls for no reason." So yeah, I got in a little bit of trouble there. That's what happens, guys. Right there, stuff starts breaking on you. Alright, broken extension. More scrap iron. Let's see if I can find another extension on that one right there. Get away with it without an extension. Well, I'm already perpendicular. That one turned out just right, huh? I'm not trying to claim that I'm some kind of big Billy badass. I mean, I've had my ass whipped a couple times myself, but I'm not real accustomed to letting somebody just whack me in the balls. It's just uncalled for. Alright, so I got that one. Yeah, do it without an extension. I got some more extensions, but they're all shit. 6" or 9" I don't need that long of an extension. But overall, the Navy was the best experience for me. I was kind of a wild man when I was a kid, always in trouble. It did me a lot of good. Settled me down. And then the training probably led me here, really, to be honest with you. Typical kid, I didn't know what I wanted to do. Somebody asked me, and I don't know what I'm going to do. On submarines, you know, you go to what they call firefighting trainers and the off crew, what they call the off crew, the guys that were in port. Because on ballistic missile boats, you had the gold crew and the blue crew. And each crew had the boat for 3 months. We weren't like those poor bastards on the USS Parchie. That was a special operations boat. Those poor bastards. I had a buddy that was on it. He was out 97, he was out to sea underwater for 297 consecutive days. And you never know on that special ops boat when you're gonna leave. It's crazy. Oh, I'll be glad to be done with this. Here, I'll tell you that. Then I got out of the Navy, and I went to Wyoming Tech, Laramie, Wyoming. I graduated Wyoming Tech, and then I took off and I got a job. Kind of a screwy story there too. There was this kid that was in our class that was from Gillette, and there was a cat dealer that worked in all the coal mines up there named Wyoming Cat. Well, he obviously knew people there because he was from Gillette. I went in there and interviewed a cat. This is what started me on dealerships from the very beginning. I've always had a hard-on for dealerships ever since then. I scored like a 98% in the whole school, through the whole average. Like I was in the top. Not bragging, that's a fact. And this kid here, I don't think could spell his own name. And we're done. Anyway, so I go in there for the interview at Cat, and I think I tell them every decision that or every answer they want to hear, you know. And then I see him walk in after me, and I'm serious. This kid, he couldn't walk through a door. If the door was 4 foot high and he was 5 foot tall, he couldn't walk through there without bumping his head. I mean, that's the way he was. And they hired him because he knew somebody there. They didn't hire the guy that was qualified for the job, that knew what he was doing. They hired the guy that knew somebody. And I thought, you know what? Screw you guys. So, yeah. Anyway, so then I went to work for Black Hills Trucking, working on crude oil. They hauled oil off the Bellefuge pipeline, hauling crude oil in tanker trucks. I worked for them for a while. My wife, she kind of got homesick. She was from Klamath, and then I ended up working in a truck shop from Klamath for a couple of years, and that didn't work out too good because the guy that owned the company, the shop, his wife used to be my ex-girlfriend. He didn't find out that till I got hired on, so that didn't work out so good. I didn't care. I mean, I wasn't going out with her anymore. And then I was already married. You know, whatever, you know. And then that didn't work out. And then I went and worked for some farmers for a while. And then I went for the strawberry nurseries and worked there for 13 years. And then I wound up here. So worked for myself, which has been the best move that I've ever made. Well, you know a little bit about my background now and all the stupid shit I've done. So, all right. Well, I'm gonna get my rocker shafts now, push rods, and put all them in, and we'll get the valves adjusted.